Hey everybody, it's Diana. So today I'm making a Mermaid birthday box pop-up card with Fawn's Mermaid for you in Fantastic Friends stamp sets. This card might look familiar to some of you who have been following me on Instagram for a while. I'm actually remaking this card for someone that requested it on my Etsy shop, and it's actually my most visited blog post that I've ever written, so I decided to film it for you all to see. This card design is actually my very first pop-up card that I made back in July of 2016, and oh how I've grown since then. From this card I decided to put more of a focus on creating more interactive cards. So thank you all for supporting me through my paper crafting journey and helping me decide what I should be doing. So I stamped all the images out with Fawn Jet Black ink. It's a great Copic friendly ink. I won't be showing the coloring for all the images, but I don't really do anything special. I just start with a dark shade and I blend out with a lighter shade. And to save on editing time, if you are interested in what Copic colors I'm using, you can find it over at my blog linked below. I'll have them all listed there. So since this is the design of my very first box pop-up card, I thought I'd talk about how I came about doing these kinds of cards. So long-winded story, once upon a time, before I started card making, I made a trip to Vancouver, British Columbia and discovered Daiso. If you haven't heard of Daiso, it's this awesome Japanese $2 store that sells like everything. And the one in Vancouver is 2 floors and they have the most amazing stationery section. Anyways, so during this trip I found this really cool birthday cake pop-up card that I don't really have anymore because I mailed it to a friend, so I can't really show you guys. But it was the neatest card I'd ever seen, and when I started card making like a year later, I've always kind of thought about it. So I found myself on YouTube one day looking at pop-up card tutorials, and I saw a box pop-up card, and this was my very first time ever seeing a box pop-up card, and I was thinking to myself how neat it was. It's really neat that all these things could pop out from the card, but what I didn't like about it was when it was closed you can see everything kind of like sticking out of it. So to me it's not as much of a surprise, and you'd also need a larger envelope to accommodate a card like that. And I felt like what the card looks like when it's closed is equally important as what's going to be popping out. So I was thinking to myself it would be neat if a pop-up card like that could be designed in a way that nothing sticks out when it's closed, so that it could fit in a regular size envelope, but still has that like wow factor of everything popping out. So I always design my cards with these kinds of things in mind. At the time, I had just recently acquired Fawn's Mermaid for You stamp set, and it was still sitting on my desk, so I decided to try and make a box pop-up card, and this is the card design that came about from that. I use MFT's Lots of Dots background stamp with Fawn Peacock ink for my decorative panels, and other pattern paper. I can't remember what paper pad it came from, but it's a Recollections one. For the sentiment, I cut out the second smallest circle from MFT's Stitch Scallop Circle Dynamics, and I'll be heat embossing Have a Lovely Day from Simon Says Stamp's Lovely Spring stamp set in Recollections Gold Tinsel Embossing Powder. I should mention that in this video I don't show myself stamping everything, but if you want to know how many of what stamp I used, I'll have it listed over on my blog post below. Also, The box card base itself I won't be showing how to make in this video, but if you're new to box cards, you can check out my box card base tutorial linked in the top right corner. I have 2 slots in this box to start. I'm gluing my sentiment to the front of my box card flap to get it out of the way, and then I'll slowly start building my scene. So I cut a tab from a scrap piece of cardstock and I'm adhering it to the right side of my rock. I'm securing it with a piece of scotch tape and then sticking it down onto the left side of my first slat, then adhering the sitting mermaid to it. If you're wondering, the bow on the mermaid's head is from Mama Elephant's Carnival Topper stamp set. I'm starting to glue some seaweed in place, one behind the rock and then one on the right side of the first slat. The seaweeds I stamped out were stamped in different shades of green ink. I used Lawn Fawn, celery stick, freshly cut grass, and jalapeno ink. And I'm gluing a piece of coral to the first slat that was stamped with Lawn Fawn chili pepper ink, then gluing another piece of seaweed to the front of the box card. I'm taking another rock and gluing a tab onto its left side and sticking it onto the right side of the second slat, as well as 2 pieces of seaweed. Felt like a piece of coral would look good by the mermaid, so I adhered one place. This piece of coral was stamped with Lawn Fawn Blue Jay ink. Then I glued another piece of coral on the second slat that was stamped with Lawn Fawn Fake Tan ink. You see me periodically throughout this whole video kind of close the box while I'm gluing things in. It's to make sure that nothing is going to be sticking outside the box when it's closed. I cut a piece of scrap acetate and I'm just gluing it to my seahorse and onto my first slat. Everything is slowly kind of coming together. I'm gluing a mermaid to the background and I'll start adhering more things onto acetate. So I adhere a mermaid, a schoolfish, and an angelfish onto acetate and then onto my second slat. I add a fish on acetate to the rock on the first slat, and then I take another school of fish with a longer strip of acetate and I tape them to the right side of my second slat. I feel like my box card scene is almost done. I just glue a small angelfish to the background on the left side, and then I glue another one onto acetate onto the right side of my first slat. I could have stopped here, but I wanted to use some of those tiny fish, so I glued one onto the seaweed on my second slat and then one to the seaweed on the front of my pop-up card. To finish off the inside of my card, I use my Spectrum Noir Clear Overlay brush pen. I'm just adding some sparkle to all the fish and the mermaid fins. For the back of the card, I'm decorating it with a piece of seaweed, rock, and a small angelfish. I felt like adding in something on the front of the card, so I'm using the happy birthday stamp from Fawn's Bake Me a Cake stamp set, and I'm heat embossing it with Wow Opaque Bright White embossing powder. So that finishes up my card. I hope you guys like this card and that it inspires you and gives you ideas for your future card making projects. If you like this card and you want to see more like it, please thumbs up and subscribe to let me know. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.